Welcome back for another video. Gameweek 8's just wrapped up, so I wanted to do a video discussing the wildcard and the plans beyond that, as we didn't get a chance to fully discuss the long-term plans. Of course, things could completely change, but it's always good to have a plan, so we'll run through that and which players will be joining the team. Around only a third of you guys have subscribed, so if you do like the content, hit subscribe and you'll be notified as soon as a video goes live, and it will appear on your YouTube feed. Lots of content to come over the international break. Definitely the right decision to pull the trigger on the wildcard, and we picked the right draft between the two. There was a Kane draft as well, though it had no Maddison or Isak, so it would have scored us less points. Benching Andreas for Maddison was a close call, but it paid off. Leicester were always going to concede, so I felt like they were going to have to score a couple for any chance of a result, and he always stands a chance of being involved. Leicester's fixtures are phenomenal here on, so he's one to strongly consider. Isak actually had a pretty quiet game in honesty, so very happy to get 9 points. It was a penalty won by Trippier, but Isak demanded that he take it, although I did like Trippier wanted to take it as well. From an FPL perspective, the perfect outcome anyway. Well done to those who captained Kane over Haaland. He came out on top this game week. It was an incredible performance from Son, a hat-trick off the bench. He wasn't honestly ever in my thinking, as I suspected to bench him. It's actually been 7 years since there was a hat-trick off the bench, which was Stephen Naismith for Everton against Chelsea back in September 2015. So let's talk about which players are in our thinking and where we hope the team will move in the coming weeks. Easiest way to demo this is on Plan FPL. They're a good friend of the channel, not sponsored in any way. Just a great tool, and it's planfpl.com if you want to check it out as well. I'll link them below. So the plan in Gameweek 9 is to roll, which lines up like this. It's always a good idea to aim to roll after wildcarding. Booking in an immediate transfer can be wasteful down the line, though I know some have booked in the De Bruyne to Salah move, which is understandable. I really like the look of Maddison home to Forest. Another poor result for Forest, throwing away their lead against Fulham. They always look like conceding. Haaland gets the captaincy as it stands, home to Man United, and if you're still on Salah, he's a great option at home to Brighton. I'd be very tempted if he was still in the team. So in Gameweek 10, the plan is Saka to Zaha. Arsenal face Liverpool in Gameweek 10 and blank in Gameweek 12, so it's a sensible transfer and it aligns nicely with Palace's fixtures turning. This was why Fofana made the wildcard, as he can potentially start ahead of Martinelli in Gameweek 10 too, home to Wolves. Gameweek 11 could be the De Bruyne to Salah week. Salah has a good record against City, and historically it tends to be a high scoring game. And of course Man City blank in Gameweek 12, so the transfers with that in mind as well. So in Gameweek 12 we could go Cancelo to Trent, and the lineup would be as follows. Haaland and Martinelli bench for their blank, and it's still a really strong starting 11. Of course the plans could change completely, but this is a loose plan from here to Gameweek 12. I mentioned earlier that it's not ideal to book in a transfer straight after a wildcard, and this plan would have a spare transfer for the entire run as well, just in case required. The downside to the Gameweek 8 wildcard is the international break comes next, where there can sometimes be the occasional injury, as players play multiple international fixtures. The other downside is that if you're able to hold onto your wildcard until Gameweek 13, you could dead end your team into Gameweek 12, selling your City assets and then activate the wildcard straight after to get them back, as Man City's fixtures Gameweek 13 onwards are incredible. Ideally Cancelo would need to find his way back into the team, perhaps at the expense of James. If we take a quick look at the fixture ticker, there's a number of fixture swings here. Aston Villa have good games ahead. A cheap defender like Mings for 4.3 mil is not a bad idea at all, perhaps even Martinez in goal, or Bailey as a 5th midfielder. Bournemouth have a few good fixtures ahead as well that look appealing. Solanke for 5.7 mil could be a good option as a third forward. Alternatively, looking at Brentford's fixtures, Tony's probably the one. Raya or a defender for 4.5 mil also worth consideration. James and Fofana made the wildcard team due to their run of games ahead. We've talked plenty about how Wolves struggle for goals, so the aim is to start both James and Fofana in Gameweek 10. Zaha's the talisman at Palace and on penalty duty, so he's a great one to consider as well. Guaita for 4.5 mil or a defender for 4.5 mil or less, also worth looking at. Despite his blank, Mitrovic is well worth it still. Home to Newcastle next, followed by West Ham, Bournemouth, Aston Villa, Leeds and Everton. Leicester's fixtures are also great for the next 5. Goes without saying that defensive assets are probably an avoid. Perhaps Justin for 4.3 mil, but is he worth the extra over Nico, Patterson or Emerson? Or for 0.1 mil more for Fofana? Maddison the standout pick at Leicester. At the opposite end of the spectrum, the fixtures are turning badly for Arsenal, Brighton and Man United in particular, so they're the ones to consider selling your assets from. Let me know how you got on in Gameweek 8 and what the plan is moving forward. There's lots of content to come over the international break, so subscribe to the channel and hit like if this has been useful. See you soon for the next one.